Welcome to Mixed Methods in Research Part 2 video. For more research learning, subscribe this channel and share among your friends. Now let's move on the content of types of mixed method research. Key areas of discussions in types of mixed methods are 1. The design. 2. The forms of data collection. 3. Data analysis. 4. Interpretation. 5. Validity challenges. There are 3 basic types of mixed methods used in research. 1. Convergent parallel mixed methods design. 2. Explanatory sequential mixed methods design. 3. Exploratory sequential mixed methods design. First, convergent parallel mixed methods design. A. Description of the design. Researchers new to mixed methods typically first think of this approach because they feel that mixed methods only consists of combining the quantitative and qualitative data. In this approach, a researcher collects both quantitative and qualitative data, analyzes them separately, and then compares the results to see if the findings confirm or disconfirm each other. The key assumption of this approach is that both qualitative and quantitative data provide different types of information, often detailed views of participants qualitatively, and scores on instruments quantitatively, and together they yield results that different types of information, often detailed views of participants qualitatively, and scores on instruments quantitatively, and together they yield results that should be the same. It builds off the historic concept of the multimethod, multi-trait idea from Campbell and Fiske, 1959, who felt that a psychological trait could best be understood by gathering different forms of data. Although the Campbell and Fiske conceptualization included only quantitative data, the mixed methods researchers extended the idea to include the collection of both quantitative and qualitative data. B. Data collection. The key idea with this design is to collect both forms of data using the same or parallel variables, constructs, or concepts. In other words, if the concept of self-esteem is being measured quantitatively, the same concept is asked during the qualitative data collection process, such as in an open-ended interview. First, mixed methods researchers will collect information from the same number of individuals on both the qualitative and quantitative database. This means that the qualitative sample will be increased, and it will limit the amount of data collected from any one individual. Second approach would be to weight the qualitative cases so that they equal the n in the quantitative database. Third approach taken by some mixed methods researchers is not to consider the unequal sample sizes a problem. Mixed method researchers would argue that the intent of qualitative and quantitative research differ, one to gain an in-depth perspective and the other to generalize to a population, and that each provides an adequate count. Another issue in sampling is whether the individuals for the sample of qualitative participants should also be individuals in the quantitative sample. Typically, mixed methods researchers would include the sample of qualitative participants in the larger quantitative sample, because ultimately researchers make a comparison between the two databases and the more they are similar, the better the comparison. See data analysis. The first approach is called a side-by-side comparison. These comparisons can be seen in the discussion sections of mixed methods studies. The researcher will first report the quantitative statistical results and then discuss the qualitative findings, e.g., themes that either confirm or disconfirm the statistical results. Alternatively, the researcher might start with the qualitative findings and then compare them to the quantitative results. Mixed methods writers call this a side-by-side approach because the researcher makes the comparison within a discussion, presenting first one set of findings and then the other. A good example of this can be seen in the Klassen and colleagues 2007 study. Researchers can also merge the two databases by changing qualitative codes or themes into quantitative variables and then combining the two quantitative databases, a procedure called data transformation. The researcher takes the qualitative themes or codes and counts them, and possibly groups them to form quantitative measures. Some useful procedures that mixed methods researchers have used can be found in Onwug, Buzzy and Leach 2006. A final procedure is to merge the two forms of data in a table or a graph. This is called a joint display of data, and it can take many different forms. It might be a table that arrays the themes on the horizontal axis and a categorical variable, e.g., different types of providers such as nurses, physician assistants, and doctors, on the vertical axis. It might be a table with key questions or concepts on the vertical axis and then two columns on the horizontal axis indicating qualitative responses and quantitative results to the concepts. Lee, Marquardt. and Zurcher, 2000. The basic idea is for the researcher to jointly display both forms of data, effectively merging them in a single visual interpretation. The discussion section includes a report comparing the results from the two databases and notes whether there is convergence or divergence between the two sources of information. Typically, the comparison does not yield a clean, convergent or divergent situation, and the differences exist on a few concepts, themes, or scales. When divergence occurs, steps for follow-up exist. The researcher can state divergence is a limitation in the study without further follow-up. This approach represents a weak solution. Alternatively, mixed methods researchers can return to the analyses and further explore the databases, collect additional information to resolve the differences, or discuss the results from one of the databases as possibly limited, e.g., the constructs were not valid quantitatively or the qualitative themes did not match the open-ended questions. Validity using the convergent approach should be based on establishing both quantitative validity, e.g., construct, and qualitative validity, e.g., triangulation, for each database. Some potential threats to validity in using the convergent approach or unequal sample sizes may provide less of a picture on the qualitative side than the larger N on the quantitative side. The use of different concepts or variables on both sides, quantitative and qualitative, may yield incomparable and difficult to merge findings. A lack of follow-up on conclusions when the scores and themes diverge also represents an invalid strategy of inquiry. For more research learning, press subscribe and like button and ask your friends also to subscribe the channel. Thank you for watching.